You're tuned into the It's Real podcast with your hosts, Kayla Calendar and Andrew Yagi. Each week, we'll talk about what happens behind the scenes working full-time in real estate and share with you real-life stories, our successes and failures as we work to help consumers and industry professionals reach their real estate and real-life goals. Here we go. Episode 15 of the It's Real podcast. I'm Andrew Yagi, and I'm a real estate agent.
Hi, I'm Kayla Calendar, and I'm a mortgage lender.
And Kayla, we're hitting a milestone today.
Woo-hoo.
Episode 15 episodes.
We did it. Woohoo. Let's celebrate.
Kind of a big thing, because I feel like a lot of things like this kind of fizzle out.
Yeah.
Before they hit such a milestone.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like anything. It's like a workout, structure or anything. You start strong and then you fizzle out, like you said. But here we are, 15 in.
Absolutely. And 15 in, I don't know if there are any other 15s we can point to. You've probably been in mortgage or banking for at least 15 years.
At least, yeah. It's actually this year is 20 years.
20 years.
I just aged myself. But wow. I was 2 when I started. That's what that means.
Yeah, absolutely. Get a real early start.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to talk more about that, Kayla, because I think that, obviously a lot of people watching this, they might know you or they might know me, but, it's always fun to, share a little bit more about an individual story and just, kind of what makes them tick. So I think we'll get to that. But what else is going on in your world, and kind of what are you seeing in lending and real estate in general?
I've found rates are pretty, stagnant. They're staying the same. We're seeing them creep up a bit. Inventory, guys, it's still low. It's still lower. And that's, you want to know what? Every market's going to have pros and cons, and that's just one in this market. But the good thing is this time of year, there is just something really magical about being in the Midwest, because we don't get summer that often. And one of the things that I'm seeing a lot of lately that just warms my heart are people outside and dogs and people just truly like staying up later, being around family. And that's kind of what I'm witnessing. And I just cannot get enough of this time of year. So how about you, Andy? What are you seeing? What are you witnessing?
Yeah, I would agree with you. And it is refreshing to have nice summer weather, because even I know in our house, we've been spending a lot of evenings outside getting outdoor projects done. I know I feel better, have more energy, higher activity levels just because of the nice weather. In real estate, it's still very quiet on the listing side. I mean, have so many buyers, that we're talking to every day that, hey, we're looking for something, or, working with physicians or other professionals relocating to the region who are looking for something. Even the rental market is really challenging. And the thing that's always very interesting to me, Kayla, is, I've got some properties listed, and by and large, everything moves very quick. But, I've got a couple of properties, one that's very similar in a neighboring community that, a similar property sold that was a little bit smaller, had one fewer garage stall, sold just like that a couple of months ago. And now we're having trouble, kind of finding the right buyer for the house.
Right.
Of course, some of the lesser populated areas, the markets are going to be a little bit more finicky, but still we're seeing, demand far outweigh the supply. And so it's very challenging. But again, like we talk all the time, it's all the more reason to have a great team on your side, to make sure that you're successful. And what no doubt will continue to be a very trying market.
I think it will be, especially probably for the next, if I had to guess, at least a few months. It's just kind of how it is. And one of the things that I was thinking about the other day was, I was like, I haven't heard from a few clients lately. They were shopping. Kayla, can you run numbers? And it had been about a week or two. And I'm like, so I reached out. I'm like, okay, did they go somewhere else? That happens. You know what? People might choose someone else. Checked in again. And the last couple clients were like, oh no, we're working with you. We're sold. We want to be, have you as our lender, but I think we need to wait. And a lot of people, and I think I said this before, they're quietly quitting. They're just like almost giving up. So, but I understand it's emotional and there's a lot going on. So
I've noticed that with some of our buyers too, and even some sellers as well. People just kind of, taking their time and sitting back. With that being said, I've had, a lot of, client meetings this week, talking to people, predominantly about selling and, some even, not making plans until next spring, but, just kind of fact finding and getting the
Yeah.
ball rolling. So,
Mhm.
really important, I think, especially on our end, and especially for those that are listening, go
Mhm.
find an agent or a lender, someone who's out there actually, doing business and actually
Mhm.
has their finger on the pulse of the
Right.
market.
Right. It's incredibly important, and you just can't take it lightly.
Mhm.
Mm.
Absolutely. I
Mhm.
see there is big news in Fargo, North Dakota today. I see, not to make the show
Yeah,
political, but I see Governor Burgum is announcing his presidential run.
he is. He did this morning. Yes. So that's kind of exciting.
Yeah,
So we'll see what happens. Wish him nothing but the best. Obviously, if we can have someone in North Dakota representing the country, that's awesome. But
yeah.
time will tell.
Yeah, very interesting. My mom ran up to the event today. She actually,
Good.
uh, Doug grew up in Arthur, North Dakota. My mom grew up in
Mhm.
Arthur as well.
Oh, they're
So,
best friends.
yeah, so something like that. They go way back at least, and I think
I
my
love that.
grandma used to babysit him way back in the days. So,
Oh.
kind of fun to see that. And yeah, it
That's
is.
cool.
It would be good to get some more rural, more small town values out in
Yeah.
Washington. Have I see you're freezing a little bit, Kayla. Must be having some Wi-Fi issues at home. Maybe it's on my end, but I'm sure there you are.
There you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. Hey, hey. What on the topic of politics, and not to dive into politics, have you ever
Mhm.
thought of running for any office, any council, even any leadership, within mortgage, Kayla, or banking, or
One of the things that I am passionate about is education. And some people get real
some people get really frozen when their home Wi-Fi doesn't work, or home office.
Am
I
I
see
am I back?
there you're back.
It's I think it's a computer I'm on. We'll leave it at
Okay.
that. I won't go into that. I think one of the things when people are considering going to that step of speaking publicly or being on video, they get nervous, they get scared, and they
Yep.
just don't want to do it. They've got all of this information to share, but that's the thing keeping them. And one of the things that truthfully doesn't phase me is speaking on stage with people, meeting new people. So I don't know if I'd run for anything political, but anything to do with education, especially in real estate or sales, I would 1,000% do. I do some coaching on the side. I've started that a little bit with sales and social media, but
Mhm.
you just never know. I mean, I think you could say the same about you too, Andy, is you're well connected, you know people, you walk into a room and you're a chameleon, you can talk to anybody.
Sure, sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thrive like you in situations like that, and it's just so fun to connect with people and get to know them and kind of get
Mhm.
to know their why and what makes them tick. That's the
Yep.
thing that I get most excited about.
Yeah, being curious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No, I
Well,
agree.
speaking of curious, I'm curious today, Kayla, about you. And obviously, I've known you for quite a number of years, like
One time.
18 years,
Oh my
and
God.
going back to the NDSU days. Um, but I think it would be really fun for those that maybe are tuning into this, which might be our moms and maybe some siblings and a friend or two,
Maybe.
but just to kind of talk and know a little bit more about your story. So,
Mhm.
and I think we've touched on bits and pieces
Yeah.
throughout some of our different episodes, but how did you get into lending?
By accident. I don't think, a lot of us lenders, we joke about all the time. You didn't like dream as a little girl that you want to be a mortgage lender. No one really does because it's a,
Nothing fairy tale about that.
yeah, I mean, I think we have these ideas about what we want to be when we grow up. And then you have these options in college, right? Do you want to be a teacher? Do you want to be, a lawyer? You have these hard jobs that you know of that are just very structured. But I think one of the things that got me where I am is just the fact that I was in the financial industry from the age of 15.
Sure.
And it just made sense that I would get a business degree. Truthfully, at NDSU, I didn't know what the heck I was going to do with it, but I knew that having a background like that from our, you remember our, whether it's micro or macro econ or it's our business law, like a lot of those things you learned real life things that you're going to experience no matter what. So for me, just made sense. Like I work at the bank, I go for this and I'll figure it out as I go.
Sure.
And it kind of just happened naturally. You work your way up at a bank, and at some point they said, you can be a loan officer. And I'm like, can I? And it was baptism by fire.
Mhm.
But to me, people that are great at sales are great at connecting with people
Mhm.
and relationships.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was, wow, I really like that piece of being a lender. I can do really well at this if I learn to connect and relate to people. And
Mhm.
so the rest is just kind of history of, experience and growing in different companies. But truthfully, had no intent of being a lender until it was basically presented to me.
Sure.
So, yeah.
And so I know obviously so in high school you were doing some banking at your hometown bank. You
Mhm.
came to NDSU. I know you were working at Choice Financial at Walmart. That's always my memory of you. And then fill in the gap. So you went from there and how did you go from there
Mhm.
to, becoming a lender?
So when I was at the bank at Choice Bank, I moved to out of the Walmart location and into an actual traditional branch. And I think, you graduate, I graduated college and it just made sense. Hey, Kayla's now full time. She's staying with the company. And I actually went into being a virtual banker. So I was helping people, on the phone with their financial needs, with their banking. And from there, I knew I wanted to do something. And
Mhm.
there were 2 individuals at my bank that just seemed really happy with what they did. And I
Mhm.
said, "I wanna do that." They get to help people buy homes. They seem like they get along. They seem excited,
Sure.
and they get to talk to people, not on a headset all day.
Yeah.
So, once, there was some movement within the organization, and it literally Andy was, "Hey, we've got an opening for a loan officer. Do you want it? Do you wanna apply?" And I did, and I'll be honest with you, it terrified me completely. I had no idea what debt to income was. I didn't know anything, and I had to learn quickly. And I actually, Andy, I don't know if you know this, I left the industry for, 2 months,
I didn't know that.
and I was a headhunter.
Really.
Uh-huh. Yeah, not for me. Not for me. I am not
And
aggressive.
and what type of headhunting did you do? Was it in banking or?
It was specialized recruiting. So it was, yes, kind of more corporate banking, professional jobs. But
Okay.
it just was not, I was not cut out to call and hunt and be aggressive. Like, I've got this client, I've got this guy named Andy who's, he's looking for a different, job in this. It wasn't for me. And I knew it on day two, it wasn't for me. So I actually took a step back, and I was being recruited by another company in town. And I went to work in mortgage there, but as a processor.
Okay.
So I that's someone that kind of does all the background, the back end stuff. So I got to learn mortgage more from the ground up like I should have, which
Sure.
made me a better loan officer because I knew what was going on behind the scenes once I, got a purchase agreement. So from there, I leaned into being an originator right away as a hybrid processor, and the rest is history, just with a few different companies.
Yeah. Wow,
Mhm.
that's fantastic. I didn't realize that you had kind of backroom knowledge and experience, and I think that's really, really
Yeah,
awesome. I think oftentimes, even as I've gotten into real estate,
yeah. Mhm.
there are some days, and I'm lucky that I've had relationships and picked up on a lot of it fairly
Yeah.
quickly. But there are days where I wish I would have gone on more of a team
Mhm.
approach and had just some of the different experiences from like an inside
Mhm.
sales agent making calls all day to working some of the different team roles to get to know
Yeah.
it. However, I'm very happy with the path that I've taken, but I just know that obviously, like in doing what you're doing, even if you would skip some of the back room, the processing work, you're still going to be good. You're going to do a good job, but you just have a
Mhm.
greater wealth and depth of knowledge.
Me too. And the thing is in mortgage though, things change. So the way that I may have done something before, it could change. But what I would always tell anyone thinking about a mortgage career is I would even start before that. I would start as like a closer or something that kind of, or an assistant to a loan officer, a processor, because you're understanding the whys. Why am I asking
Yeah.
for 2 months of bank statements? Why do I need a verification? And then when you sell and your clients ask you a question, you don't sound silly being like, well, we just need it. People don't want to hear that. They want to say, we need this because it shows XYZ. So, anyone considering lending, I would say start out in a different position other than a loan originator.
Sure. No,
Mhm.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So obviously, your boots on the ground, you're working, face to face with clients. You're also spending a lot of time educating,
Hmm.
other lenders, originators, and also real estate agents.
Hmm.
What and I know you say that you love knowledge and providing education. How did you jump into that? And even before that, how did you get going in social media and even video?
Again, it just those things happen, right? So, for social media, let's start there. I noticed I was connecting with people in ways that I normally could just, face to face. And in fact, these people would see my posts and say, "Hey, I saw you had this product." Or, "Gosh, Kayla, you seem so passionate. Do you do loans here?" And so it just kind of started to snowball a bit with people knowing who I was from LinkedIn. LinkedIn, right? A
Yeah.
professional
Mhm.
platform. And I noticed people would call me the LinkedIn girl. And I thought, I can post on a platform and reach thousands of people. I think I've got like 6 to 7,000 LinkedIn connections. Why wouldn't I do that? Because yes, I can go and talk to people in person, and you should. Face to face is important. But why don't I continue to post? So I would post my closings. I would post, hey, we've got this product and education. And so that kind of led into more the other platforms as, Instagram and Facebook, took off. But that's how I kind of developed that was I was realizing I could connect with people and have virtual handshakes and do it from any moment, anytime. And
Mhm.
so for anyone listening, if you're not using social media, you're missing out. It's a huge opportunity for free advertisement. When I see Andy Yagi everywhere, which Andy, your postcards come to my lake home. I see you everywhere. And I associate that with, gosh, he's trying, he's working hard, he's investing, and he's probably successful. I want to work with someone like Andy if I see your face everywhere,
Mhm.
personally. But if I see a lender and I'm like, I've never seen this person, I've never heard of them, people are more hesitant to even, if you open up Google and you Google a lender and nothing comes up, same with a realtor. I think that's rare if you Google a realtor and they
Right.
don't come up. But
Right.
that's why I kind of dove into social more. So,
No, you do a really awesome job, and I think everyone could take a few cues from you, myself included, because really a big part of it um, is just getting out there and finding your people, building
yeah.
relationships, and just attracting. In my home office here, above my desk, I've got a number of different motivational things in quotes, and I'm looking at one from James Clear, who wrote Atomic
Hmm.
Habits, and
Hmm.
it just talks about the most effective networking strategy I've found has nothing to do with and even conferences, cocktail hours, cold emails, or any common ideas that you hear. Number one, do interesting things, and two, share them publicly, and like-minded people will come to you. And that
Amen.
really epitomizes exactly what you're doing, and what I try to do as well is get out there, be omnipresent, show people that
Yeah,
you're out there, and it also gives them an opportunity to kind of get to know you and kind of feel out Kayla
absolutely.
calendar and say, hey, is Kayla a good fit for me?
Yeah. And as I tell my clients, I said, I get to know your social security number, where you've worked, what's in your bank account. I get to know everything about you. So with every pre-approval I do, when I send them the application, I said, here's a link to my social medias, to my reviews, to everything that you can possibly know about me, because I know you're probably going to Google me anyway. Let me put that in your pocket. But I think it's important that you know the girl that's going to be handling probably the biggest purchase of your life. And guess what? I'm not for everybody. And that's okay. But the people that are meant to be working with you will come. And not everybody is going to mesh well. But what a way to at least allow people into your world and see, wow, Andy's human. Oh my gosh, Kayla has 4 dogs. I have 2 pit bulls too. And it creates just this common connection that wouldn't exist otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to your question on education, Andy, I wanted to start educating because I kept seeing failures. People, I talk about it every time I'm on here, not getting approved before they get a home, having terrible experiences with other professionals would break my heart. And I thought, how can I take education and social media and just combine that? And so that's one of the things that I do is even if clients aren't working with me, maybe they're working with someone in Texas, I at least can help them prepare and be proactive versus reactive thinking, gosh, what if I would have known this? So it's truly just about helping others.
Yeah, no, I love that,
Mhm.
Kayla. I think that's
Mhm.
awesome. And I think that's ultimately why we're here is,
Mhm.
in the pursuit of service and helping people reach their goals.
Mhm. Yeah. And everyone's going to find a different way to do that. And some people might not lean into social or other people might not really want to educate, but they're accessible. And for people in this industry, just find the ways to help others. Just find that way and what makes you unique in that sense.
Mhm.
So that's what's worked for me.
Yeah. No,
Mhm.
no, that's really awesome.
Mhm.
What any other thoughts, Kayla, or what else? I know you're really involved. What else, do you do, to stay involved in your community and, even to just kind of stay grounded?
I well, I'm part of Homeward Animal Shelter's board of directors, so I'm involved with that. That really brings awareness to the community. When I can be part of that, I get to hear a lot more. But I think there's always this effort of being like having success outwardly, right? Like you can do all the things, make the money or sell the houses or be on this committee or what have
Mhm.
you, right? Outward success is difficult, it's hard, but we often don't focus on our inner success. So when you say stay grounded, I think about how do I kind of stay balanced? And honestly, I struggle with that. But I can say that some of the things that have helped me, and probably Andy have helped you, are I listen to tons of podcasts. I
Yeah.
listen constantly to them when I'm driving or working out or whenever I can, curling my hair. But continually opening your mind and being open minded, meaning I might think that I could never do this and I think that this is silly, to just allow yourself to maybe change your perspective now and then. Like be open to that. Um, and I think time management is huge. I think you need to set boundaries. And I think that you need to make time for yourself, your spouse, your kids, because no one is going to do it for you. And Andy, your clients might not realize that maybe you've been working all week and you've got 60 hours in. And when they text you on a Saturday night, they don't understand that you've been working, but you have to set those boundaries because no one is going to do it for you.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
that's the thing that I learned, quite a while ago is boundaries are so,
Mhm.
so, so important, especially
Mhm.
if you're going to stay grounded.
Mhm.
So,
Well, and also just your health, nutrition, diet. Have you done ice baths, by the way, Andy?
I have not, I've read about them or certainly read about, like a ice cold shower, which, maybe
Mhm.
is a little bit easier.
Mhm.
One of the things I try to do every day is sauna. We have a,
Yes.
a real sauna at home and I know you've got a sauna as well, but I
Mhm.
like clockwork. I'm doing
Yeah.
it every morning and I really attribute it to, staying in good health.
Yeah. And I think once you do that, you cannot achieve outward success if you do not have that inner peace, that balance, because then it becomes chaotic. And so for those of you listening that want to achieve greatness and to hit these numbers and do these things and travel and speak, whatever it may be, make sure that you've got peace in here and that there's balance, because otherwise that pendulum is going to swing too far one way. So just my
Amen.
2 cents.
Amen. Well, Kayla, we could talk and talk and talk about, podcasts, about history, about,
Mhm.
ways to be successful in everything and talk we will over hopefully another 15 episodes. But I think it's time to put a wrap on episode
Yes.
15 of the podcast.
Mhm.
Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Hopefully we make it to 20, maybe 100. Who knows? The people that will listen will find out.
They sure will. Well, Kayla, it's been great getting to know a little bit more about you and your history. I hope you have a great rest of the week.
I will if you will.
See ya.